Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Justin Goodbread. Justin, thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Aaron. Looking forward to this conversation.
I've become, in 140 episodes, I've become a bio junkie. And we're going to get into some of your bio. I actually printed it twice, the long version and the short version. And what I would tell everyone is read the bio, because as I read it, preparing for this episode, I got like amped up. I didn't just need the coffee that's in my hand, but I just got like amped up to talk to Justin. And I think everyone will enjoy. I want to just take a step back. Your bio begins with raised on a dirt road in Brunswick, Georgia. I don't know where that is, but there's something about that. There's something about the fact that you open with that. There's something about the fact that you say things like, don't let it fool you, learning the value of grit, learning what humility is, starting your own business at age 15. So what I'd like to do is start with, or take us to the beginning, what you saw, how you built the hustle, because everybody can see the Deca Millionaire. Everyone can see it. Great. So many people, and most of our listeners may not be there yet, dream of getting there one day, or may, in the worst scenario, say, I can't. And I think it's a mindset thing. So I think you're a good person to ask about that, because I see you shaking your head. So go for it.
Yes, it's definitely a mindset thing. So Brunswick, Georgia is located about halfway between Jacksonville, Florida, and Savannah, Georgia, right on the coast. It's a little county filled with a bunch of islands. And I was raised in a little inlet island called Blythe Island, Georgia, middle of nowhere, right? The little town is, back when I was there, before kind of the migration over the last 5 years, it had 30,000 people there, Aaron. I mean, and I got a last name of Goodbread, man. I mean, no one can forget the name Goodbread. In fact, forever you're going to remember Goodbread. This is Psycho from like South Georgia. But the way the grit came about was I was placed in a position that there was no excuse. There was no surrender. I was placed in a position unwillingly to where I had only choice I had to go was up. So here's how it worked. I was age 15. I was homeschooled most of my life, Aaron, and my dad came home and he said, hey, son, you're going to be 15 this Friday. If you don't have a job by Friday, don't come home. Okay. Hello. Yeah, I love it.
Parenting that doesn't work in 2026.
It actually
I wish we could do that.
It actually does if parents have the cojones to actually stand behind it.
So right? I want to get there. Let's do that. I want to go there. We never go there on this podcast, but we're going to go there, but take it. I don't want to interrupt you.
But so anyways, I'm like, okay, so we're like the Walton family, right? I mean, we're like Leave It to Beaver type family. So I was homeschooled. We sit around the table in the night, and I had a mom and dad who were just country folk, man. Like I said, born on a dirt road, chasing alligators barefoot. That's who we were. Just country as a turnip green. And Dad said, hey, look, don't come home by Friday if you don't have a job. Well, he didn't stop there, Aaron. He went on to say, he said, son, but you can't work for anybody I know. You can't work fast food, and you can't work at a grocery store. 3 things you can't. Everything else you can do, but if you don't have a job by Friday, don't come home. So, all right, I'll be 15 years old on Friday. And long story short is that my dad knew something I didn't know. By Thursday, I had not yet secured a job. I went around like Dr. Seuss book, Do You Know My Mother? And everybody's like, yeah, I know your dad. He's a good man. This guy's got a great reputation, unbelievable character. So it's like, dude, I'm screwed, right? I can't go home Friday.
Why do I have to be this guy's kid?
I mean, dude. So I
rule number one.
Yeah, rule
set me up for failure.
Yeah, it was good though. So I grabbed the lawnmower on Friday morning. He said, and I beat him out of the house that morning. He got up every morning to go work at the Georgia Port Authority. His hands were like a man's hand, working with his hands every day. And he, for some reason, had the lawnmower on the driveway that morning. We're in the country, dude. We're a mile from our closest neighbor. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm grabbing the lawnmower and I'm going to drag it all around this crazy island until I find somebody my dad don't know, and I'm going to cut the grass. And they're going to pay me something. So I found a guy named Mr. Brown. Long story short, Mr. Brown let me cut his grass. It took about 2.5 hours. He paid me $40. Came home that day, washed the lawnmower up like we were trained to do. I'm sitting there clean bathing, Aaron, and my dad came home. He said, well, you're smiling and you're here. Something happened. Sure it did, Dad. I got paid $40 today. He said, what'd you do? I said, I took the lawnmower down this road. There's this guy named Mr. Brown. He said he didn't know you. Come to find out they had this whole thing planned. But he said he didn't know you, and I cut his grass. He paid me $40. I'm like, okay. Long story short, Dad looked at me, Aaron, changed my life. And this is the statement that forever has impacted me, that I now teach my children, I now coach into the lives of business owners all across the country and around the world, is this. If I learn to work for myself, I'll never be beholden to the man. His exact statement. Now, this is a man that's worked his whole life in the trades. He's a man's man. I mean, he knows carpentry. He knows how to do these things. And what he went on to say is he said, son, you just made more in 2 hours of your time than I made all day working for the man. What I have sacrificed is I have sacrificed my life to give you, your brother, and your sister a step up so that you can forever change your destination. I'm going to be the one in my family that changes our legacy because I'm sacrificing myself for y'all. Aaron, let's fast forward 30 years. My brother, my sister, and I are all, by the world standards, wildly successful because a man made a decision. My father made a decision to do something radical. That's something so unique and push us as a loving father does in a way that each of us needed to push us in the direction. So that's where the relentlessness comes from. That's where my mind comes from. That's where the excitement and the journey that I've had over the last 32 years as a business owner comes from. So that one little example.
There's so much to dive into. First of all, I am blessed that I don't have my father anymore, but he was equally as impactful on my life, I would say, as your father was on yours. Yes. I came into his business. But I will tell you, when I was a senior in high school and everyone else went to work and we had a work study program, and everyone else got a letter signed, my father said, I'll get you a job with my friend Michael. Went to work for Michael Barnett. Shout out to you, my first boss. And I had to work in the file room. And he wouldn't sign the letter. Come to think, by the way, like your father's story. Mm-hmm. One day I walk into his office and he's on the phone with my father. They spoke almost every day. And he says, can I take him out of the file room yet? Didn't know my father was on speaker. My father said, you think he's done yet or not? And he wouldn't sign the letter. Like everybody else, they just found a friend of their parents who would sign the letter and say they didn't go to work. And obviously your story is so incredible because your father built for you, built for your siblings. But what's the most incredible thing to me, and I want to dig into that as we relate to being relentless or keep hustling, is the three of you realized that you had to do it. And what I would say, and my question to you is, yes, he told you you couldn't come home that Friday without a job. I want to put that aside because you could have gotten the job. You could have had the landscaping business. You would have been able to come home, in quotes, and everything would have been fine. But I feel like your success is a lot driven by the fact that you knew that he believed in you and wanted more for you. And therefore, when you wanted to give up for yourself, you couldn't give up for him and that belief.
I think that's well said, Aaron. My dad went to see Jesus a few years ago. As I reflect back on I'm going to use the word discipleship in my life, if I can use that word. I look back now with a different lens than I've ever looked at. And maybe it's because my children are now graduating, going to college. I'm seeing the same things happen in their lives, and they're going to be wildly successful based on not necessarily the world standards, but based on their own personal standards. There was this little bit of thing that my dad used to teach us, and my mom did the same thing, these little idioms, these little statements that they would just impart on my life, my brother, my sister, and I. And they would use every moment to teach us life. But it wasn't life in the immediacy. Like, we live in this generation today that I'm fighting against with my own children in my own mind of instant gratification. And they were talking to us constantly about looking to the future, not missing the present, not hustling now as your podcast. We're going to keep hustling, but what for? What are we doing this position for? And little statements like, you know what? You're fearfully and wonderfully made, Justin. You're out of the 8.3 billion people in the world. You're the only one that God created just like you. You're the only one who has this experience and these talents. It'd be a shame. It would be a shame for you not to pour 100% of your energy into the very person that God created you to be. Those are the 100%. Statements. So whenever
100%.
Whenever you hear that, Aaron, you can't help but say that man, that woman, those individuals that they put in my life, the other parents, the other men and women he surrounded me with, you can't help but say I stand on the shoulders of giants. And what a disappointment to them, not necessarily for my benefit, but for their benefit. And simultaneously, the game is not for me. And I call it a game because I think business is a game. The game is not for me. The game is so that my children see their father and the giants that he stood on, the legacy. That's the game. And what happens out of the game is we're enjoying the game. We're having fun and we're energized and we're running this thing with all of our might and vim and vigor, as we say here in the South. And when we're doing that, what transpires is it becomes contagious. and your children want to get involved, your friends want to get involved, your clients are like lining up to be a part of the game because they don't see people today that are looking at a game over a long period of time. We look at the self-centeredness and this thing about instant gratification. So yeah, you're right. I stand on the shoulders of giants, man. And what a foolish thing it would be for me to waste my life for anything that's self-serving whenever I can go forward and backwards.
What's amazing to me, one of the things that almost every single episode comes out on this podcast is the image that I always talk about, which is the guy who was pushing the rock up the hill.
Yep.
And just before he got to the top, he quit. And he obviously doesn't know, when you look with the image, and I'm sure you've seen it, is it's zoomed out and he doesn't see. He just is looking down and he's thinking, I don't know how much farther I have to go. And we're like, the people looking at on the outside are saying, dude, you have no idea. You got that. And I think that in life, it's those things that we can't quantify that you're describing that push us to that little bit more. Nobody wakes up in the morning in a healthy mental state and says, I don't want to be successful. I don't want to be able to provide for myself and for my family. But as you've said and you've seen, that only gets you so far. And it's amazing to me, and I didn't know this, by the way, going in, so I love this, that you and your siblings, different levels of success, doing different things. And it's amazing to me because a lot of times you see families where everybody does the opposite, where they had it all and they all blow it. And there's some where it's in the middle. But to me, that's what inspires me. But I wasn't planning on going here, but I got to ask you. You said as you parted on your children, and I said before, hard to do that today. I'm a father of 5. Your children are a little older than mine. Yep. My oldest is about to turn 15. Youngest is 3. I never do this on the podcast, but I am amped up right now. Listeners, I don't know if you guys can tell, like recent episodes, I haven't had the energy. I don't know why. I've switched my coffee, but I got Justin on today. How do you impart that on your children? How do you impart that on the next generation? Because I think that, you want to talk about the idioms or the things that my parents imparted me, my father should rest in peace, until this day I'm blessed that my mother tells me these things every day, is it's very easy to say, but a lot of the things we do are what inspire the most. Meaning, if you didn't see your father working for the men, as you described, working so hard and only getting so high, and then you realize, hey, if I work as hard as him, I'll get higher. But we live in a generation where our children, mine and your children, are not seeing that. Yeah. Even though they see how hard we work, they're also seeing the people who sit on TikTok in their basement and become billionaires. And maybe they think, or maybe they'll be foolish enough to think that they can get there. So how do we inspire them to be inspired the way we were? Yeah. Because there's no downside to that, by the way.
Yeah.
There's no downside to hard work in the world.
So I can't answer that question without being authentic. And so I'm just going to be my authentic self here, Aaron, and pull all the curtains back. Jerry Seinfeld made a powerful statement about 2 years ago in a podcast that I heard him on, and he asked a rhetorical question. He said, quote, "When did money become our God?" Powerful statement. It was a rhetorical question. And then he went on to explain that in his generation, a little older than both of us, but throughout his lifetime, he's seen the needle switch from wholesome family units to the desire for wealth in a way that's unhealthy. Let's just say it kind of that way. That's my own words. Whenever I hear that, I can't help but think about the way that I was trained and the way now I've been training my children. So there's a term that's often used in the religious sector, no matter what denomination you are, what your belief system is. I think we would understand that there's a term called discipleship, discipling somebody. In that term, if you go back to ancient times, whenever that term first originated, it literally means to be covered in the dust of. And what the history shows us is that as the Jewish culture had the priest in the synagogue, they would submit these roughly about 12-year-old young boys to the priest to ultimately be, quote, discipled by the priest, to actually come into the ministry. And the priest would travel from town to town. And as they were traveling, the dust of the feet of the priest would get so heavy, it would cover the children behind them. Literally, like you can see me on a dirt road in South Georgia, like I'm covering dust. All you can see my little eyes sticking out. That's discipleship. So think about that now as a parent. As a parent, we are to, quote, disciple, to guide, to instruct, to tutelage, to mentor, not just to educate, but to mold our children to the very beings that God has created them to be. That's what God's responsibility is for me as an adult, for me as a parent. So I don't know any other way but than to have my children beside me. and let them see dad and mom in business, struggling, having open discussions, literally with us this year at our attorney's office, looking at our net worth, our trust, and how they all work together at the age of 14, 18, and 21. They've been doing that for years. I can't help but say that every part of my life, my children have to be a part of that, whether that's at church on Saturday or Sunday, whether that is in a sports arena, whether it's at work, wherever. And in doing so, what happens, Aaron, is they see a father and a mother who's doing their dead level best. They don't have it all perfect, but they're not hypocritical. And they want more for their lives than they want for their own. Same thing we all want for our children. We want them to excel far past whatever our best standard of measurement is. So whenever I said earlier, but we can take our children that God has gifted us to mold and to shape and to push them into the world so they can go be, as I say, ballistic missiles, so they can go out and just do the very best to impact the world with the ministry that God's given them. My job is to help them disciple. Well, if that means that I need to do some tough love as a father, and we've had our tractor barn experiences. My 18-year-old and I, we've hit some heads together. We go out to the tractor barn and we lay it out, man. And we come back as father and son. If that means now that my daughter and I, we got to have a conversation that, hey, look, we don't quit. We're Goodbreads. We don't quit. God gets no glory in quitting. If we got to have that, then they know exactly where we come from. They know they're not perfect. So to me, the generational wealth loss that often happens, whether that be a health loss or a physical money loss or reputational loss, it often comes where the parents are living their life separate from the children that God has given them to raise. They send the child out to an institution, or they send a child out to a teacher or to a Sunday school or wherever and say, no, you raise my child versus me. Now, that may be offensive to some, but you asked the question. The way I look at it is my God-given responsibility for me to disciple my children. And you know what's amazing? Is even though they didn't come with rule books, Aaron, all the mistakes that I've made and all the mistakes my parents made, I don't see many of those. I look back at my own parents' life and I know they jacked some things up. I know that. I honestly don't remember. What I remember now at this phase of my life is how much they sacrificed and pushed and pulled to hone us to the very best that they could do. And that's what we're doing now as a family. So yes, you can be relentless. You can keep hustling even when you're rearing your own children.
You got me. I promised in the first episode of Keep Hustling that it would be emotional. For those who are not watching, I need a minute. Justin just nailed me here.
I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate it. You know, first of all, I love the idea of the rabbi discipling the disciple to getting covered in the dirt. I believe it. You know, someone once told me, and by the way, I look at this as the biggest compliment that I could ever get, that I'm starting to sound a lot more like my father every
Absolutely.
single day. And I quote him all the time. And it means, I don't know why you hit it in this podcast. He was the best. He was, and it's crazy the way you say a few things you said. I know he wasn't perfect. He left us a letter when he passed away, and he reminded us that he wasn't perfect. And you know what's the irony? Obviously, I wish I could have him back. It's been just over 3 years. I'm forgetting more and more of the flaws and remembering more and more of the perfect, like, superhero stuff. It's pretty crazy how that works.
Yeah.
And I think that what's more, my father used to say at the end of his life that he realized ups and downs, careers, grew up, lost his mother when he was 6 years old, was peeling shrimp when he became a messenger, and then ended up with an insurance business. Pretty nuts if you think about it. Real hustle. I wish he would have been on the podcast, but his life became about faith, family, and friends.
Yep.
And that was just because it sounded good, the F, but the friends was really community.
Yep.
And I think that I appreciate, and the reason why I'm taking this down a notch, but then we're going to get the energy back, I promise, is that so many people discount faith, whichever, as you said, whichever religion, however you want to lean into faith. Family. I'm blessed to have 5 children. You're blessed to have 3 children. I'm blessed to have a supporting wife. You're blessed to have a supporting life. Everybody can have family.
Yep.
There are those that can't, unfortunately, have children. There's ways that you can have family. Everybody can have a spouse if they're willing to work at it. And the people that don't have no idea what they're missing out on. I got married at age 23, man.
Yeah. Same here.
And I've never looked back, and I love it.
Yeah. Same
People
here.
tell me I'm nuts. I missed out on traveling. I had a kid when I was almost 24. All this stuff, like, you know. But now my daughter's like one of my best friends. She's almost 15, and I'm only 38. So we're having a great time together in life. My son is almost 10. Poor kid. He's got 4 sisters. This poor kid, he's stuck in the middle, but whatever. It's toughening him up and making him soft at the same time. And community. And I think that there's so much there that people, as you're right. And the irony in all this, and then I want to get to what you're doing, but the irony, faith, seemingly nothing to do with business.
Oh, yeah.
Family, what they call home life, what some people call work-life balance. And by the way, I've gotten a lot of heat for saying keep hustling, but I say keep hustling is how you define it, not burning out. Friends, community, almost nothing to do, and I'm putting this in quotes to you, with financial success.
Correct.
Yet I'll argue, and I think you're going to agree, Those three things, your faith, your family, your why, and your community that supports you and you build around, arguably have more impact on your financial success than what you actually do in your 9 to 5 or what you actually do when you go into an office. What do you say to that? I promise I take the energy back up.
Yeah, no. First of all, I wish I could have met your father. Sounds like a man that I would love to break bread with. So
Me too.
my dad passed away about 12 years ago, and there's a hole there
Sorry.
that won't ever be filled this side of eternity. So I understand where you're coming from. I was about the age which you are when my dad passed. So know where you're at.
But my dad didn't leave a lawnmower out front. I got to be honest. I had it a little easier than you. I'm going to be honest. He made me answer the phone and file, but there was no lawnmowers in New York City. Or maybe he did leave a lawnmower, but he realized the cement wasn't going to get me very far.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So when you go to Faith, Family, Friends, I read a T-shirt years ago that's forever stuck in my mind. So this is not original for me. Faith, Family, Friends, Fitness, Finances, 5 F's. Okay. And, we went through 7 years of tribulation, as I'll call it. It was tough, dude. It was tough. We lost everything except for our family. And then we actually had 3 miscarriages and several in the 3rd trimester. That was tough. And then we had, I almost lost my wife during COVID. Ridiculous, tough. Okay. Well, we had the conversation with the kids. She might not be coming home. It was that bad. So whenever you look at Faith, Family, Friends, Fitness, Finances, I would agree with you to the extent that when you get those in alignment with who you are and what God's called you to be, then you can go further than you ever dreamt was possible. I agree with that. What's challenging to me is oftentimes, though, is that the faith has to be number one, period, in a discussion, because you're going to face circumstances, especially as we're hustling, as we're building businesses, as we're doing the thing that God has gifted us to do. We're going to face times when our family is in disagreement, period. You may have a spouse, a significant other, a mother or father thinks you're smoking crack, dude. Why in the world? I've dealt with that. So you're going to have times whenever your faith has to trump the family. Whenever you have your family and your spouse, your mate with you walking in this journey, you're typically in harmony with that individual. So your faith and your mate could be there, but you may have times when your children are in disagreement at whatever age of life. So the family's not always there for success, whatever you want to define success. Then you go to friends. Man, I've been times when my friends forsook me, quote, quote, friends forsook me during hard times. I've had times where I've had 2, 3 little buddies of mine that are now like my soldiers around me, that whenever I go to them, man, they punch me square in the nose, dude, that they sometimes tick me off. They're not there to help me in the sense of drive me to the newest market so they can help me some sort of a business strategy or wealth move. They're there to keep Justin Goodbread honest to who God equipped him to be. And without my faith being grounded as what God prepared me to be, and my wife beside me or my mate beside me, and those dear friends, I would not be able to achieve what I've been able to achieve, period. But I'll take it a step further. My fitness, the day whenever I said enough's enough, I was 36 years old, Aaron, a little younger than you, and we were broke, man. We just gone through 7 years of tribulation. I had committed to myself at the age of 19 that I was going to be a Deca Millionaire before 40. This kid you not, this is a true story. Sitting at a Zig Ziglar conference, and he says, pull out a sheet of paper, write down your 3 wildest dreams you want to accomplish in 20 years. Here's my 3 wildest dreams. Kid you not, 19 years old. Number 1, in writing, marry a, quote, smoking hot girl. Period. Number 1. I had my priorities in line, dude. Emily came in my life about the age of 22, 23. Okay, so smoking hot wife, done. Number 2, write a New York Times bestseller. I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew that the week before, my college teacher told me.
They have those in Brunswick, Georgia?
Yeah, I'm just in Georgia. But I said, I'm going to write a New York Times bestseller because my English teacher, I'd failed it for the 3rd time in a row because I can't spell with a flip. And she looked at me, she goes, dude, you're dumb as a box of rocks. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to write a New York Times bestseller. What she didn't know is I've been reading New York Times bestsellers. I just saw that, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So I wrote that down as a journey. Hadn't done that yet. Got number 1 Wall Street Journal bestseller and some other things, but New York Times coming. So then my 3rd thing was, I want to be worth, I really wrote this out, Aaron, $1 million. And I looked at it, I was like, well, anybody can do that. Let's put another zero on there. And I put $10 million by the age of 40. That was literally the depth of my thinking. So here I'm at 36 years of age, and I'm going through all this thing, and I'm saying, I'm going to reach Deca Millionaire status. So I hired a coach. Here's where fitness comes into play. My coach looked at me, and you could roll me sideways down a hill. I'm a short fella. I'm 5'6". I weigh 220 pounds. I look like a running back. I got a 6-pack. I'm built like a muscle man. But at that time, I wasn't. I was like a 40-inch waist, dude. I mean, you look like the Oompa Loompa on TV is what I look like. And he said, Goodbread, you're never going to accomplish your wildest dream until you get your body in order, because a disciplined body shows discipline through all phases of life. So whenever he challenged me that, before all the internet web and all that stuff blew up about fitness, he challenged me, he said, until you get your faith, your family, your friends, and your fitness in line, your finances are always going to suffer. They're never going to be the same. What I saw then over the next last 20 years is I know many billionaires that don't have a family, that don't have fitness. What good is wealth when you don't have health? What good is wealth when you don't have somebody to share it with? What good is wealth if you lose everything, you become so self-centered that you forget there's a bigger universe that we can serve people through? It's nothing. You become Ebenezer Scrooge. So the way I look at it is, yes, faith, foundational. Family, absolutely. But you got to understand sometimes they're not going to support you. Your wife's, your mate sometimes not going to support you. Your friends, they should be there where those friends are going to punch you in the face every once in a while. Say, dude, what are you smoking? Your fitness has got to be there. And ultimately, if you do those in that order, your finances are always going to work out.
Holy smokes. I want to know, what do you put in your coffee in the morning?
This is just me, man. This is the way I roll.
Okay, we have a few minutes left, and I'm going to tee this up because your energy is literally just off the charts. So I'm going to read, I never do this. We're going to do a couple things, and then I'm just going to ask you just to go for like 3 to 4 minutes.
Sure.
Here we go. He's the founder of the Deca Millionaire Way, a framework designed to help service-based business owners break free from the daily grind, scale with purpose, and finally achieve the lifestyle freedom they set out to build in the first place. You wrote 2 books, The Ultimate Sale and Your Baby's Ugly. I feel like I got to read Your Baby's Ugly because I feel like it's a pretty good one. And I'm going to ask you now to take us to the Deca Millionaire Doctrine, which is decipher, discover, and deliver, relentless foundation, relentless examination, relentless execution, relentless exit, relentless freedom. Take us there.
So there's 33 million small business owners in the United States which employ individuals. These are not solopreneurs. These are people that have employees. 33 million. Of those 33 million, the number one goal that many of them have, the vast majority, if you bell curved it out, is to make $20,000 a month take-home pay, $250,000 a year, let's say, in take-home pay. And the vast majority of small business owners can achieve that, statistically speaking. What happens is that we realize we end up building a prison for ourselves. We launch into business thinking that we're going to have freedom. We're going to be able to set our own calendars. We're going to be able to spend up the amount of money we want to spend, whatever the lifestyle is. But before you know it, because we have not built systems and processes or the structure in place that gives us the freedom that we launched into business. And now we built a prison around us. So we built this prison where we make a lot of money, but we can't enjoy it. Not only that, but most of us, statistically speaking, only 14% of businesses will actually transact, will actually sell from the founder to the second generation or to an outside party. That means that our lifestyles that we have now accustomed to, we're taking on $200,000, plus we're paying for the car and the education, the vacation, and the CE and all these other things through our company because we do good tax planning. And all of a sudden, we're living on about $400,000 a year in income, all in, $500,000 at a bare minimum on a bell curve, but yet we'll always be working. We're now in a prison that we're on this gerbil hamster wheel. There's enough of this. What we have to do is we have to shift our mindset. Jim Rohn said in the 1970s, the goal is not to become a millionaire, but for the person you become. I'm going to shift it and say that for most of us as business owners, if we're ever going to have freedom, we have to build a company or a net worth that's $10 million or greater in value. Why? 10 million times 5% after you pay taxes is about what you used to living on. 10 million pays $500,000 a year. You pay taxes on it. You're going to take home what you typically pay as a business owner. So we have no choice. So whenever you look at the Deca Millionaire Way, it's a simple framework. And a framework is so that, Aaron, you're not me and I'm not you. And so for me to tell you, here's what I do, it's not going to work for you. But a framework says, if I follow this process, it will work for me no matter what business I'm in, no matter how God's gifted me, no matter what my personality is, etc. There are no excuses. We can walk a simple framework. So here it is. Number one, what is your foundation? Your foundation is 3 words that we've heard of many times: vision, mission, and values. Vision, mission, and values. Where is Aaron Gordon going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and why? You said at the beginning of this, with probably off the air, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here or hurt you in any way, but you said, I'm going to keep doing this podcast. Great. I have 1,000 episodes of my podcast, been doing it for 10 years. In the last 4 months, I went from nobody to a top 100 business podcast. Alex Hormozy is beneath me in the rankings right now. Figure that one out. So don't quit. Your values are not for, I'm doing this for me. It's I'm doing this for because of this goal, everything we've been uncovering. So vision, where are you going to be? So we always start off with the foundation. Get crystal clear on who are you and where are you going. Then you go to examination. You examine yourself as a person and the business as an investor. It's like a 2-sided pancake. I've never seen a 1-sided pancakes, and I love pancakes, man. Put some bananas and some caramel on top. Man, it feels good. So Caramel. Yeah, dude, have some caramel on top of banana. Oh, it's great. Anyways, so you're going to examine your business this way, okay? Your life, faith, family, friends, fitness, finances, are they in order? Your business, there are 256 metrics in every business that an investor looks at. How do yours stack up? That's the second thing in examination. Most of us have good ideas. We're really good at squirrels shaking the shiny object, right? We think of more thoughts than we can ever implement. The third phase is execution, relentless execution. We teach We teach that there is a systemized process for you to rapidly scale your company. The way we teach our clients is that you can double or triple the value of your company in as little as 18 to 36 months. I've coached over 300 businesses to go from startup to 8-figure valuations in as little as 3 years' time. The execution, the way in which you attack the day is how you do it. You say, Justin, what are you drinking your coffee? No, this is how my mind works. I've got Aaron Gordon and your listeners to impact as much as I can in your life in a short period of time. Why would I not give it my best? And then the next call, why would I not give it my best? And the next call, why would I not give it my best? Give everything I have. Why? Because I may not be here tomorrow, dude. So I'm going to execute every day with as much power as I can because I'm going to exit. We're not taking our companies with us. That's the fourth phase. We're going to leave them at some point, either to our children, to employees, or to an outside party, or just shut it up. But we're never going to have, quote, freedom, the fifth phase, unless we get that order in place. We end up building a prison. And I don't like that. I lived that way for 20 years until my coach came in my life and said, let me teach you a 5-step framework. Guess what I just told you? And if you follow these, Goodbread, you're going to be able to take your business and you're going to be able to scale it radically. And guess what we did? In the most compliance-ridden area, financial services, we took a startup company to 8 figures in 49 months, Aaron. That's unheard of, following that 5-step framework that I just outlined.
I absolutely love that. I could listen to you all day. I could talk to you all day. So far, we've only disagreed on one thing in this whole podcast.
You don't like
caramel on pancakes. And maybe we'll have that editing team edit that out just because it's my podcast and you're not allowed to say crazy things on it. Justin, I usually say thank you at the end, but I'm going to say this before I do the outro, and that is thank you. Thank you for...
Absolutely.
Thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for the energy, and thank you for the honest and open conversation. If nothing else, and if nobody, and I will say this, and I've rarely said this, I don't think I've ever said this on the podcast. If nobody listens to this episode, I'll be okay with it. I'd love if they did, but I appreciate you for the conversation. And it will definitely have an impact on me in the long term. Justin, as you know, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote and what it means to them. So with that, I will say, thank you, Justin Goodbread, all the way from the dirt road to relentless execution and freedom. And my baby was ugly too. All newborns are ugly. You heard that here first. My wife hates when I say that, but it's true. With that, I'll turn the floor over to you and say thank you again for being here and take us home.
The most motivational quote that I ever heard was to look at the end. I always start with the end in mind. The end to me is a deathbed. Now that sounds morbid, but I want you to challenge every person to listen to me with this thought. We don't know when that's going to come. We often talk about heaven and hell, and I'm not going to get into religion in any way, but one person one time told me, they said, hell is sitting on my deathbed with regret, looking at the second part of me, the other person, my doppelganger, if you will, of the person, if he had a little bit of faith and a little bit of execution and kept hustling day in, day out, you could have become that person. My challenge to every single person out here is no matter your story, the hard times you had in the past, the good times you had, the pedigree, whether it be on a dirt road or in New York City, doesn't matter. What we have is today. And God has uniquely gifted you and equipped you to impact people in a way that only you can. What a shame it would be for you to reach your deathbed and never hustled, never given 110% of the person God created you to be and impact the people he's placed in your life. What a shame that would be. I don't know about you, Aaron, but I don't want to look at myself on my deathbed and say, I wish I would have. I want to live with no regrets. I want to look at my deathbed and say, I did everything I know to do to help everybody around me. That's my motivation for you guys. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep stepping.
I absolutely love that. This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.